My name is David, and up until a few days ago, I thought I was living a normal life. I'm 50 years old, I have a family, a job, and on the surface, everything seemed fine. But for the longest time, I've felt this growing emptiness inside me. It's hard to explain, like a sense of unease, as if something was missing, but I couldn't figure out what it was. I brushed it off, thinking maybe it was just stress or the pressures of life catching up with me. Then one night, everything changed. It was a regular evening. My family and I were sitting down for dinner, talking about our day. Out of nowhere, I felt this sharp, excruciating pain in my chest. It was like someone was squeezing my heart. The pain was so intense I couldn't breathe. My wife and kids looked at me, panicking, but I couldn't speak. I just collapsed. Everything after that became a blur. I remember hearing my wife scream, calling for help. The next thing I knew, I was being rushed to the hospital. I could feel myself slipping away. It was terrifying, knowing I was on the verge of death, but powerless to stop it. The doctors did everything they could. For 10 minutes and 30 seconds, I was clinically dead. My heart had stopped. During those minutes, I was gone, completely gone. When I finally woke up, everyone told me it was a miracle. But what no one knows is that during those 10 minutes, something incredible happened to me. I wasn't just unconscious. I went somewhere. And what I experienced in those moments changed everything I thought I knew about life, about this world, and the next. Whatever happened to me during that time, today I am going to tell you that in this video. Before that, please tell me by commenting where you are watching this video from and subscribe to the channel for such videos. I can still remember the exact moment I left my body. It was surreal. Like 1 minute I was in the hospital bed, surrounded by doctors, my family crying out for me, and the next, I was floating above everything, watching it all unfold from a distance. I could see myself lying there, lifeless, machines beeping frantically, nurses rushing around. But I couldn't feel anything, not pain, not fear. It was like I was completely detached from what was happening below me. I thought I'd be terrified, but in that moment, I wasn't. It felt strangely calm, as if I was watching a movie of my life. Before I could even make sense of it, something powerful pulled me away from the hospital room, away from the noise and chaos. I didn't have control over it, it just happened. Suddenly, everything around me went dark. And when I say dark, I mean completely dark. It was this thick, oppressive darkness that felt like it was closing in on me. I couldn't see anything, couldn't hear anything. It was as if I was in some vast, endless void. The weight of it was suffocating, pressing down on me from all sides. I had no idea where I was or where I was going, but I felt like I had no choice but to keep moving forward. Time felt different in that place. It could have been minutes or hours or even days. It was like I was lost in this dark realm, and the longer I was there, the more I felt like I might never escape. I started to lose hope, wondering if I'd be stuck there forever. But then, just when I was on the verge of giving up, I saw it. A faint light in the distance. It was small, but it gave me hope. So I kept going, drawn to that light, knowing it was the only way out of the darkness. As I got closer to the light, it grew brighter and brighter until it completely surrounded me. It wasn't harsh or blinding, though. It was warm, comforting, like being wrapped in a blanket of peace. For the first time since I entered the darkness, I felt safe. All the fear, the confusion, it just melted away. I can't even describe the feeling properly. It was as if every burden I had ever carried was lifted off me in an instant. And then I saw him. Standing there in the middle of the light was a figure, radiating pure light and compassion. I didn't need anyone to tell me who he was. I knew instinctively that I was standing in the presence of Lord Jesus. The awe I felt at that moment is something I can't put into words. I was overwhelmed not by fear, but by this deep, profound sense of love and acceptance. It was as if every part of me, every doubt, every mistake, every fear, it didn't matter anymore. I was just known, completely and fully known. I wanted to fall to my knees, but I couldn't move. Not because I was scared, but because I was frozen in awe. The peace that radiated from him was like nothing I'd ever felt before. It filled me from the inside out, and for the first time in my life I felt whole. Like all the questions I had, the emptiness I carried around for so long, it was finally being answered just by being in his presence. But there was something else too. Along with the peace came this deep, undeniable curiosity. I could feel that he was about to reveal something to me, something bigger than anything I'd ever known. It was as if I instinctively understood that whatever he was about to say was going to change everything for me. And I wanted to know. I had this burning desire to understand the truth he was about to show me. Jesus looked at me with eyes full of compassion, and though he hadn't spoken yet, I felt like I was already hearing him. It wasn't just with words. It was deeper than that, like a conversation that was happening inside my soul. I knew that whatever was coming, it was something I was meant to hear. In that moment, standing in the presence of Lord Jesus, I realized that the truth he was about to reveal would be unlike anything I had ever imagined. And even though I didn't know what it was yet, I was ready to listen, ready to understand whatever he wanted me to see. As I stood there in awe before Jesus, still trying to absorb the peace and warmth that surrounded me, he did something that left me completely speechless. He slowly raised his hand, and I saw it, a half-moon shape on the palm of his hand. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. It was so simple, something I had seen my whole life. We all have that shape on our palms, but I never thought twice about it. I had always seen it as just another part of my body, something completely ordinary, but this time it wasn't ordinary. There was something deeply significant about it. Jesus looked at me, and without saying a word yet, I felt the weight of what he was showing me. It wasn't just a mark on his hand, it was a symbol, one that I somehow knew had been there all along, but that I had never truly seen. Then Jesus began to speak. His voice was calm and gentle, yet every word seemed to resonate deep within my soul. He told me that the half-moon on the palm of our hands is not just a random part of our anatomy. It has a profound spiritual meaning, one that has been present since the beginning of time. This symbol, he explained, is a reminder of our connection to the divine, a sign that we are all created with purpose and with a link to something far greater than ourselves. As he spoke, I felt my heart racing. How had I never realized this? How could something so important, something literally in front of our eyes, be ignored by so many? Jesus went on to explain that over time, humanity has lost touch with the deeper meaning of the half-moon. People see it as just another part of their body, something without any significance. But in reality, it holds the key to understanding some of life's greatest mysteries. Our connection to God, the balance between the physical and spiritual worlds, and the purpose we are meant to fulfill in our time on earth. I was stunned. How could we all have missed this? I thought about my own life, about how I had been searching for answers, feeling like something was missing. All along, the answer had been there, right in front of me, on my very own hand. And yet, I had been blind to it, just like everyone else. Jesus continued, telling me that the misconceptions people have about the half-moon are part of a larger problem. We've become so focused on the material world, so distracted by things that don't matter, that we've lost sight of the spiritual truths that have been with us from the beginning. The half-moon is a symbol of that connection, but instead of seeing it for what it is, people have turned away from it. I felt a deep sense of sorrow as he spoke, realizing how far we've drifted from the truth. But at the same time, there was hope. Jesus wasn't just revealing this truth to me for no reason. He was giving me a chance to share it, to help others see what I had been shown. The half moon on the palm is a key, he said. A key to understanding the deeper mysteries of life, to reconnecting with the divine purpose that each of us carries within. But it's up to us to open our eyes, to see it for what it truly is, and to allow it to guide us back to the spiritual path we were meant to walk. I stood there, stunned, as the weight of this revelation settled over me. It wasn't just a simple mark on our hands. It was a truth that had been hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to rediscover it. As I stood there in the presence of Jesus, still trying to process the profound revelation about the half moon on our palms, he began to speak again. This time, what he shared shook me to my very core. It was a truth about life that I had never considered, something so far removed from what I had been taught and believed. He told me that the way most of us understand life is completely off track. We spend so much of our time chasing things that don't matter: money, success, status, material possessions. These things, he said, are distractions. They pull us away from what truly matters and fill our lives with noise and emptiness. We are constantly looking outside of ourselves for happiness, for fulfillment, but in reality, we're just getting further from the truth. Jesus explained that the true purpose of life is not about what we can achieve in the physical world. It's not about the things we can accumulate or the status we can gain. Instead, life is about spiritual awakening. It's about discovering the divine connection that lies within each of us, the inner peace that can only come from knowing God and living in alignment with His purpose for us. As he spoke, it all started to make sense. I thought about my own life, how I had spent years striving for success, chasing after the next promotion, the next big thing, thinking that somehow it would fill the void inside me. But no matter how much I achieved, that emptiness was still there. It was like trying to fill a bottomless pit. And now, standing before Jesus, I realized why. I had been looking in all the wrong places. Jesus told me that the answers we seek aren't out there in the world. They're within us. The half moon on our palms, the symbol that had been with us all along, is a reminder of that. It's a symbol of our spiritual journey, of the path we are meant to walk, to reconnect with the divine. But we've been so focused on the surface, on the things we can see and touch, that we've forgotten how to look deeper. We've forgotten how to see the truth that lies within. I felt a wave of emotion wash over me as he spoke. It was a mixture of sorrow for all the time I had wasted and hope for the new understanding I had gained. I realized that everything I had been chasing was just a distraction, pulling me further away from the real purpose of life. But now I had been given a second chance, a chance to shift my focus and live in a way that truly mattered. Jesus explained that the journey of spiritual awakening is not an easy one. It requires us to let go of the things we've been conditioned to value and to look inward, to face the parts of ourselves we've been avoiding. But it's the only path to true inner peace, to the divine connection we all crave. And the half moon on our hands is there to remind us of this journey every day, if we're willing to see it. As I listened, I felt my entire understanding of life shift. It was as if a veil had been lifted, and for the first time I could see clearly. The true purpose of life isn't found in the things we can hold or achieve. It's found within. It's the journey of awakening to who we truly are and reconnecting with the divine presence that has been with us all along. And at that moment, I knew that my life would never be the same. I had been shown a truth that I could never unsee, and it was now my responsibility to live by it, to seek the spiritual path, and to help others see the truth for themselves. As I stood there in front of Jesus, still absorbing the incredible truths he had shared, he turned his attention back to the half moon on our palms. It was something so simple, so ordinary that I'd never given it much thought before. But now, he began to explain the deep misconceptions people have about it and what it truly represents. Jesus started by saying that many people see the half moon on their hands as nothing more than a random mark, something meaningless, just part of the body's design. Others, he said, view it as a symbol of luck, tied to superstition. Some cultures even believe it brings good fortune or reflects certain personality traits. But all of these ideas, he told me, are misunderstandings. They're distractions from the real, divine significance of this mark that's present on every human being. He explained that the half moon on our palms is a symbol placed there by God, not by accident or chance, but with great purpose. It's meant to be a reminder to us every day as we look at our hands that we are connected to something far greater than ourselves. This mark represents a divine connection to the universe, a connection to God's creation, and to the spiritual path we are all meant to walk. What truly struck me was when Jesus explained how the half moon reflects the phases of spiritual growth. Just like the moon itself goes through phases, waxing and waning, so does our spiritual journey. At times, we feel the light of understanding and faith shining brightly within us. But other times, we may find ourselves in darkness, lost or confused. But the half moon on our hands is a reminder that even in those moments of darkness, there is always light. We are never truly alone or disconnected from God, no matter how lost we may feel. Jesus said that the half moon also symbolizes completion, the kind of completion that only comes through faith and a true connection to the divine. It shows us that we are not yet finished, that we are still on our journey, still growing, still moving towards something greater. But in the end, when we fully embrace our spiritual nature and live in harmony with God's will, we will reach a sense of wholeness, of completeness that can't be found anywhere else. I couldn't believe that something so profound had been right in front of me, on my very own hands all my life, and I had never understood its meaning. Jesus explained that this is part of the problem. We as human beings have become so focused on the material world, so consumed with our day-to-day lives, that we overlook the signs and symbols God has placed around us to guide us. The half moon is one of those symbols, a constant reminder of the spiritual path we are meant to walk, if only we would pay attention. Jesus also addressed how easily people fall into superstition, thinking that the half moon is a mark of luck or fortune. He said that these beliefs are misguided because they turn something sacred into something trivial. The true power of the half moon is not in bringing good luck, but in reminding us to trust in the unseen, to have faith in God's plan, even when we don't understand it. It's a symbol of hope and a call to stay connected to the divine, no matter what life throws at us. By the time Jesus finished explaining, I realized just how blind I had been to the deeper truths in life. The half moon on our hands is a gift from God, a message to remind us of our spiritual journey and our connection to the universe. It reflects the phases of growth, the light in the darkness, and the ultimate completion we will only find through faith. And now, I couldn't help but feel a deep responsibility to share this truth with others, so they too could see the beauty and purpose in something they've been carrying with them all along. As I stood there, completely immersed in the presence of Jesus and the revelations he had shared, I felt an overwhelming sense of purpose settling into my heart. Everything that had seemed confusing or out of reach before was now crystal clear. The meaning of life, the significance of the half moon on our hands, and the truth about our spiritual journey, it all made sense. I felt like I finally understood what my life was supposed to be about. But just as I was beginning to process it all, Jesus looked at me with kindness and said something that took me by surprise. "David, your time here is not yet over." I was confused at first. I had experienced so much, learned so many deep truths, and I felt so at peace in this realm. I didn't want to leave, but I knew deep down that Jesus had a greater purpose for me, one that wasn't finished yet. With a gentle touch, Jesus placed his hand over mine, and I immediately felt warmth radiating from his palm. As I looked down, I saw the half moon on my hand begin to glow softly, as if it had been ignited by a divine light. It wasn't just a symbol anymore. It was alive, filled with meaning and purpose. That glow seemed to penetrate my very soul, filling me with a sense of responsibility, like I was being entrusted with something sacred. Jesus looked into my eyes and said, "You must return. You have seen the truth, and now you must share it with others. Let them know what you've learned, so they too can awaken to the path before them." His words echoed in my heart, and I knew there was no turning back. The truth I had been shown wasn't just for me, it was for everyone. I had been given a mission, and that mission was to share what I had experienced, to help others see beyond the surface of their lives and into the spiritual depths that lay just beneath. As the half moon on my palm continued to glow, the light around me began to intensify. It wasn't harsh or blinding, it was soft and comforting, like being wrapped in a warm blanket of light. And yet, with that light came a sense of urgency. I could feel myself being pulled back, gently but firmly, through the same darkness I had traveled before. The peaceful realm I had stood in began to fade, and the world I had left behind started to come back into focus. I felt a rush of energy, like I was being carried through a tunnel, and with a sudden jolt, I took a deep breath. My eyes flew open, and I was back in the hospital room. The beeping of the machines, the frantic voices of the doctors, the bright lights overhead. It all came flooding back in an instant. I gasped for air, my chest rising and falling as I tried to make sense of it all. I had returned. As I lay there, catching my breath, I could still feel the warmth of Jesus' touch lingering on my hand. I glanced down at the half moon on my palm, now just a simple mark again. But I knew it was more than that. It was a reminder of everything I had learned, everything I had seen. I had been forever changed. Even though I had left the divine realm behind, the sense of purpose and clarity remained with me. I wasn't the same person who had collapsed at the dinner table. I had a new mission now, a mission to share the truth I had been shown and to help others awaken to the spiritual reality that surrounds us all. It was a responsibility I couldn't ignore, and as I lay there in the hospital, I knew my life would never be the same. When I woke up, I was immediately met with the stunned faces of the doctors and nurses surrounding me. Their wide-eyed expressions were full of disbelief. I could hear one of them muttering about how it wasn't possible that I had come back after being gone for over 10 minutes. My family rushed to my side, crying tears of relief, holding my hands. But they had no idea what I had just experienced. They didn't know how my world had been turned upside down in those few minutes. As I lay there, recovering, my mind kept racing back to what Jesus had revealed to me. The half moon on my palm, something I had never paid attention to before, was now the most significant thing in my life. I couldn't shake the weight of the truth he had shown me, the deep meaning that was hidden right in front of us, but nobody seemed to notice. How could we be so blind to something so important? As I started to heal physically, the urgency to share what I had seen grew stronger. It felt like I was carrying a message that wasn't just meant for me, but for everyone. I started with my family, telling them about the journey through darkness, the encounter with Jesus, and the truth he revealed about the half moon on the palm. I thought they would understand, but the looks on their faces told me they didn't quite know how to react. Some of them nodded politely, others seemed confused, and a few were visibly skeptical. I didn't let that stop me, though. This truth was too important to keep to myself. I shared my experience with friends, colleagues, and even strangers. I told them how the half moon was a reminder from God, a symbol that could lead us toward spiritual awakening if we only opened our eyes to see it. I explained how we're all distracted by the superficial things in life, chasing after material success or living in fear, when the real purpose of our existence lies in discovering the divine within ourselves. But the more I shared, the more I realized how resistant people were to the idea. Some thought it was just a dream brought on by the trauma of my cardiac arrest. Others dismissed it as a delusion or a nice story, but nothing more. A few even looked at me like I was losing my mind. It was frustrating, to say the least. Here I was, holding on to this profound truth that could change lives, but the world wasn't ready to accept it. It felt like I was trying to wake people up from a deep sleep, but they didn't want to be woken. Still, I couldn't give up. Jesus had sent me back with a mission, and I wasn't about to let skepticism or disbelief stop me from fulfilling it. I began to speak at community gatherings, sharing my story with anyone who would listen. Slowly, a few people started to see the truth in my words. They'd look down at the half moon on their own palms, not as a meaningless mark, but as a sign, a reminder that there's more to life than what we see on the surface. It hasn't been an easy journey. I've faced doubt, criticism, and sometimes even ridicule. But I know, deep in my heart, that what I experienced was real, and the truth Jesus showed me about the half moon on our palms is something the world needs to hear. My life is no longer defined by the ordinary. I've been touched by the divine, and I won't stop sharing this truth, no matter how difficult the path may be. This is my new purpose, to guide others toward the spiritual awakening that I now know lies within each of us, if only we're willing to see it.